Episode 7 of Dexter Original Sin is out, and it revealed us something major and quite expected. Whole atmosphere intensifies as more pieces of the puzzle fall into place. The entire cast had some major developments, from Deb's drama with Sophia and her volleyball team to Clark Sanders' conversation with Dexter. Dexter visited some ghosts of murderers from the past while looking for his new dumping ground. We witnessed a shocking revelation about Harry and Laura's past, and Miami Metro's imposter most likely got revealed. Hello everybody, my name is Idolon. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Today we're gonna dive into 7th episode of Dexter Original Sin. In this episode we could see how quickly Dexter got out of the trouble from the previous episode. Every character was actually involved in this episode, which is something I didn't expect. Dexter was kind of struggling with his own problems, but he was definitely the big brain of this episode. It all absolutely made sense towards the end. If you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Now let's get to the episode. The episode begins with Dexter arriving at his dumping ground with Levi Reed's body at the back of his truck. He quickly manages to get out of this awkward situation by showing his Miami Metro badge. The cop then allows him to attend the crime scene. He was able to quickly come up with an excuse, and that saved him the hard time he would have had otherwise if he was trying to give them a different explanation. It was also interesting to hear what Dexter's last meal would be. Maybe they have plans for resurrection, who knows? Masuka and LaGuerta were already on the scene, and they told Dexter to take the hand's fingerprints. They also told him to watch out for the alligators in the Everglades, which Dexter took as an opportunity to get rid of the hand. Dexter knew that if Miami Metro could identify Tony Ferrer's arm, they could link it to him. His alias Patrick Bateman was in Ferrer's ledger, and since Masuka made that fake ID for Dexter, it wouldn't take much to link him to Ferrer. And yeah, LaGuerta was pretty disappointed, but Dexter got himself out of a jail-free card. That's something. In the next scene, Dexter has to come up with an idea for a different place to dump Levi's body, and since his old place was compromised, he decided to put Levi's body in a dumpster. It seemed like a smart idea at first because in a few moments, Levi's body would be buried under a landfill sea of trash without anyone knowing. However, the major problem was the smell. In order for garbage collectors to not find the body, he had to get into dumpster and cover it with trash. That led to him smelling awful, and his clothes were dirty as well. After Dexter's successful operation, there was a short scene of Nikki being trapped in a container. It shows Nikki preparing some sort of a tool which could potentially hurt his kidnapper when he comes in. Right after, there's a continuation of the previous scene where Dexter's at home still in his stinky clothes eating spaghetti. I don't know how he had the appetite, but yeah. Deborah smells him from the other side of the kitchen, and he tries to explain that it was just a dirty swamp crime scene. Harry also notices the smell, and the explanation kind of worked on Deborah, but not on Harry. The two of them had a talk, and Harry wasn't really happy about it. He told Dexter that he dodged a bullet this time and orders him to take a shower and burn the clothes, which are evidence. Harry then ends up smoking a cigarette out of frustration. When Dexter is about to leave for work, he gets cut off by Sophia, who came to confront him while picking up Deb for school. She was angry that Dexter hadn't called her since their last date, even though she was paging him. Dexter again pulls up a crime scene card. He tells her that he almost got eaten by an alligator. She almost forgives him, but she finds a condom on the floor. This probably glued to Dexter's shoe when he was in a dumpster. Sophia then breaks up with Dexter because he couldn't explain it, and she thought he was cheating on her. She then left all angry without even picking Deb up. Back at Miami Metro, Dexter is still trying to figure out perfect dumping ground for his victims. Everyone there is doing everything in their power to find Nikki. LaGuerta brings up Dexter's idea that there could be one person targeting all NHIs. She even explains the connection to previous cases. Spencer was initially skeptical, but in the end, he gave Maria and Harry permission to investigate. After that, the scene cuts to Deborah and Sophia at school, where Sophia cries because of Dexter. Deborah then tries to calmly explain to her that Dexter wouldn't cheat on her. Sophia still couldn't believe Deborah was taking Dexter's side, and they end up in a fight. Meanwhile, at the station, Sanders approaches Dexter. He seems a bit worried that Dexter knows his secret and that he might tell someone that he's gay. He then explains to him that he tries to keep his personal life separate from his work life, but Dexter doesn't seem to care and he agrees to keep his secret. We then get a flashback of Harry and Laura, where Laura tries to stop being Harry's informant because she was concerned for her life. Harry tells her that she would go to prison if she backs out and her kids would go to foster care. This scene was kinda sad because when Dexter comes running out of a room, he says daddy, but Laura gets mad and tells him that this is not his daddy and he has to say goodbye to Mr. Morgan. Harry then goes back to home to Doris, where he apologizes to her for what he did, and it seems like this was actually the end of Harry and Laura's affair. Back in the present, Dexter is still figuring out his new dumping ground. He mentions a lot of new places and why they wouldn't work. When he's on his way to records in storage, he sees that Angel is caught up with the familiar case. Angel recognized the gold and ruby ring on Ferrer's hand, and he was convinced he could find out who did this to him. Thankfully, Dexter was able to convince Angel to stop investigating Ferrer's death by encouraging him to focus on Nikki Spencer's kidnapping instead. In this scene, we could see that Batista was always in the righteous mindset, because despite Dexter trying to convince him that Tony's death was justified, he was still ready to seek justice for someone like him. Then we get a scene of LaGuerta and Harry getting a tip from a caller who spotted the car they were looking for. They decide to investigate it. At the same time, we can see Nicky in the container being approached by his kidnapper. He decides to fight back with the tool he managed to create, and this was enough for him to wound up the mysterious kidnapper, but it wasn't enough to overpower him, and the kidnapper ends up cutting off Nicky's finger the same way he did it to Jimmy Powell. One interesting thing is that the kidnapper's identity got revealed towards the end, so make sure you watch till the end because I'm gonna talk about this as well. Anyways, after this brutal scene, Harry and LaGuerta are investigating stolen vehicle in hopes that it might lead them to the NHI killer. They find out that the car was purchased legally by a father and daughter, but Miami Metro was able to connect the vehicle to Paul Petrie, who lives in Tampa. There could be the case where Petrie leads to the NHI killer in future episodes. Meanwhile, Dexter is searching through records at the station. He's looking into other killers and their ways and methods to dispose of body. In my opinion, these were one of the most interesting scenes in this episode. He interacts with each one of the killers in his mind, but he still doesn't find the optimal solution for him. I guess all these methods weren't good enough for him. Yet again, we get some Deb's high school drama. She's at her volleyball match. Of course, she and Sophia are still not on good terms. Then Tiffany comes yelling at Deborah for ruining her car. Deborah is surprised that Sophia told her, and things got heated when Deb decides to punch Tiff in the face during an argument. This scene was kind of dramatic because Deb ended up getting kicked off the volleyball team, and she also lost a chance at her scholarship. Meanwhile, at the station, Dexter and his colleagues are having a conversation, talking about good places to dump a body. This brainstorming was helping Dexter to get more ideas, but they got interrupted by Harry. Masuka then helps Dexter answering the pager from Sophia when something shocking and kind of expecting happens. Miami Metro receives Nicky's finger. As usual, there weren't any evidence they could gather based on the finger. However, Dexter found a drop of blood on the outside of the box that he believed belonged to the kidnapper. This was the first solid lead Miami Metro could find. Later, he even discovered a hesitation cut on Nicky's finger, which indicated that the kidnapper had a connection with Nicky, something he didn't have with Jimmy. You see where I'm going with this? Tanya then presents the evidence they found to Aaron and Harry, and she also mentions that Dexter found the blood. I guess that makes Dexter even after the hand accident. Well, unfortunately, they still had to wait for the blood report to come back next morning, so they will be able to narrow down the investigation. And yeah, after that, LaGuerta and Harry go on a road trip to interview Petrie and see what they could find. We then get to see a flashback of Laura being approached from one of Estrada's men. This same guy was also in the previous episode. It looks like he's Estrada's right-hand man. Laura is then forced to enter a car and she gets taken to Estrada's place. At his place, she is forced to take off her clothes, probably to make sure she isn't wearing a wire or anything. And there are also some pictures and clips from this scene that I unfortunately can't show. But I am surprised how muscular Hector Estrada is in this show. I don't remember him being this muscular in the original show. Anyways, the point is, she gets to meet him. They end up having a conversation in a pool about her ambition as a dealer. Estrada ends up inviting Laura to shipping yards so she can learn about the operation, and we all know how this is going to end. Now let's talk about the last and most important part of the episode. This is the part where Dexter discovers a hesitation cut on Nikki's finger. He then patiently waits for the blood results that would be back the next morning. Back at home, Deborah has an argument with Harry and she ends up going out with Gio. The day goes by and in the morning, Dexter is the first one back at the lab when he sees something confusing. Aaron Spencer is sitting at desk looking at the lab results, which seems kind of unusual. Aaron revealed that the blood types matched and seemingly confirmed that it was just more of Nikki's blood. But there's a twist. Dexter also noticed a bloody bandage on Aaron's wrist. This was by far the biggest development of the episode. Dexter then pieced all the evidence together and realized that Aaron Spencer is the man who killed Jimmy Powell and kidnapped his own son. If you're not convinced yet, the last minute of this episode shows Aaron purchasing the same lunchbox that we've seen both Jimmy and Nikki were fed. This episode finally revealed the real imposter at Miami Metro, and to be honest, it was always between Tanya or Aaron for that matter. I would like to point out that at the end, when Aaron is purchasing these lunchboxes, he looks pretty psychotic to me when he says, "My kids love him." Maybe it just looked like that to me, I don't know. Anyways, how do you guys think the story goes from now on? Will Dexter try to convince Harry to get rid of Spencer? Will Spencer get rid of Tanya because she found out the truth? Or are they working together by any chance? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you with the new episode.
Peace out.